Hi, I'm Alex Newman with The New American, and today I want to talk about another important issue that really affects us all across the nation. So, if you've been paying any attention, if you've been alive for more than 5 minutes, you've noticed that the dollar is declining in value constantly, right? I mean, it's just a perpetual thing. Since we got the Federal Reserve in 1913, the dollar has been losing purchasing power. I mean, to the point where it's lost something like 97, 98% of its purchasing power since we got our central bank in 1913. But now there's a growing movement in states all across America that aims to at least make it possible for Americans to trade and to do commerce in gold and silver rather than perpetually depreciating Federal Reserve notes, aka US dollars. And so the latest bill to be introduced as of when I'm speaking has been introduced in Alabama. It's SB 156. And what this bill does, and it's actually a pretty simple bill. I talked to some of the lawmakers involved and some of the people involved in crafting it. They didn't have any grandiose ideas about fixing the monetary system or anything. They were more interested in bringing in additional business and trade revenue into the state of Alabama. But it is an important piece of legislation anyways, because what it does is it ends all of the taxes on gold and silver and American coins and bars and bullion and all the rest of it. And so that might sound small, that might sound trivial, and the coin dealers and the gold and silver dealers in Alabama are rallying behind this bill because it would make them more competitive. Some of the states around Alabama do not tax gold and silver, and that's partly as a result of this movement that I've described. But what it would do is get rid of all these taxes, and so essentially gold or silver would be treated as money rather than as a commodity or a product or something that's going to be consumed and that therefore needs to be taxed with sales taxes and all the rest of it. And this is really important because if you're going to treat gold or silver as a product that's going to be taxed, it becomes very difficult to do commerce, to do exchanges with gold and silver, because then every time you do an exchange, you have an additional tax that you have to pay that you wouldn't have to pay if you had money involved, if you had Federal Reserve notes. And so by eliminating these taxes, the lawmakers, the legislature, would make it possible for 5 years in this case under this legislation to do business in gold or silver without incurring any additional taxes above and beyond what normally would be taxed in any economic exchange. And so that's crucial. Now, the legislation in Alabama, as I mentioned, is not the boldest that we've had. In fact, this movement really got started in Utah a good number of years ago, maybe 6 or 7 years ago, with the Utah Sound Money Act, and we've had other legislation coming out of Utah and in other states dealing with this issue. And what they did was functionally the same, right? They said no more taxes on gold and silver and bullion and the rest of it because people ought to be able to trade in gold or silver. And in fact, the founders believed in this very firmly. If you open up your Constitution, Article 1, Section 10, they actually say in there explicitly, no state shall make any thing other than gold and silver a tender in payment of debts. And so, for the last, at least since 1971, but, even before that, the link between the dollar and gold was, practically severed, not completely. But since then, at least, the dollar has just been a fiat currency, as in it has value by decree, right? The government decrees that it has value. They force you to pay your tax in Federal Reserve notes, and they force you to accept Federal Reserve notes. And so, therefore, we have had fiat currency since at least 1971. And this provision in the Constitution ordering states to make no thing other than gold and silver legal tender has just kind of been forgotten, unfortunately. But now a number of states are reviving this provision, and of all the bold steps that we've seen on this front, Texas actually took the boldest that we've seen so far. And this was in 2015. They passed some legislation, and it was signed into law by Governor Greg Abbott, creating the Texas Gold and Bullion Depository. So what this institution does, according to the legislator who wrote the bill, was it allows businesses to create depository accounts at this institution in gold or in precious metals and then do business that way. They can write checks in gold, for example, and this is huge. And as the author of the bill, Representative Capriglione, explained when he was talking on the radio about his bill, this allows people to bypass the Federal Reserve system. And so right now that might seem trivial. You might think, well, how many people care about the Federal Reserve Reserve System? How many people want to bypass the Federal Reserve System? But a number of states are now starting to get really smart about this issue. A number of states, including Texas, by the way, have started introducing and considering and in some cases even passing bills that would prepare for serious, serious problems in the monetary system and with the Federal Reserve and with the federal government. And, we always like to think that nothing's going to happen and America is immune to these sorts of things. Machiavelli famously said, one of the most common defects in man is that during the calm, they never prepare for the storm, right? And so these states are doing a very wise thing by making sure that if and when we get some serious problems with the dollar, citizens will have an alternative. They can trade in gold and silver, and they can do their commerce just as they could before. Now, Texas, as I mentioned, has taken a bold step. Alabama seems to be trying to take a little baby step here, but baby steps are better than no steps. So a lot of states are getting on this bandwagon. All the rest, I would say, need to get on it as well. The monetary system is very, very unstable, and this is becoming more clear by the instant. They're print Federal Reserve notes like they're going out of style. Now they've even started buying up stocks on the stock market. So this system cannot last in perpetuity. If you want to see what happens to paper money, we have lots of examples. You can go to Venezuela. You can go. I actually keep as a gag gift these $100 trillion Zimbabwe notes. I use them just more as a joke than anything. But these were real money in Zimbabwe. They were printing $100 trillion bills. Of course, today they are absolutely worthless, and the people in Zimbabwe have been trading in gold and silver. Right when their Zimbabwe dollar collapsed, they started trading in gold or silver. So Americans need to be thinking about these kinds of things. The Federal Reserve is unconstitutional. Fiat money is unconstitutional, and it's great to see state legislators taking the lead here. So if your state is not one of the ones that have passed sound money acts or legal tender acts, or at least exempted gold and silver from onerous taxation, get in touch with your state representative and your state senator and make sure that they do it. It's an important battle. Obviously, the fake news is not paying any attention. Why would they? They're fake news. But, we Americans who don't rely on the fake news know better. So make sure you take action. Thank you very much. Check out the links below and keep coming back to thenewamerican.com. Thank you very much.